Hey, Dr. Kristen Kopaz here, and I am going to talk to you today about work stress. So many people have come to me lately with work stress, and I think it's a great topic, especially in the fall. I feel like we all bear down and start getting into the grind, and it can be really helpful to think about how to not get burnt out and how to deal with stress when it's there. I am a clinical psychologist licensed in the state of California. I partner with the Inside Out Spa, which offers some great relaxation, and I'll talk about that later. And so I'm going to tell you some tips that I use for work stress. So the first is emotional, really taking care of the emotional toll that work can have. And that can be things like just recognizing your feelings, recognizing when you're feeling angry or stressed or overwhelmed. Putting words to it can be so helpful. At first, we just have this sense of maybe a tightening of our shoulders or our muscles clenching, or we can't sleep at night for some reason, and we don't even recognize what's happening. So just taking a moment to monitor the body. When you're really stressed once a day, definitely, as you get better at this, you might only have to kind of monitor the body once a week or that sort of thing. But really just taking stock. How am I doing? How am I feeling? What's the word for this, right? If all we say is happy, sad, mad, we don't really give our brain a chance to recognize what's actually happening. So emotionally, think about what words are you using to describe it? How are you identifying it? And then how are you talking to yourself about it, right? Your self-talk is so important. And for so many people, their jobs are, where they spend most of their time, right? But it isn't necessarily their life. When it's over, when they retire, they're gonna have other things in their lives, hopefully, friends, family, hobbies, right? And so think about, what is my long-term goal here? If it's your own business, you may feel very personally invested. You might go back to what your mission statement is. If it's working for someone else, sometimes having a motto like, not my circus, not my monkeys, actually helps to be able to have a more positive look at the work and be able to focus on just the task ahead rather than getting caught up in this big amount of stress based on the whole organization's stress and all of the needs that are coming at you at once. So your self-talk is important. See how you're talking to yourself. What are you saying? And then along with that is what comes out of your mouth. So socially, how do we take care of ourselves socially? Are we venting and getting it out to a trusted person, or are we just saying negative things all the time and actually getting into a habit of speaking negatively? Because they're very different. Venting is good. It can be very helpful. Actually, when we think about completing the stress cycle at the end of the workday, it's part of that. We are social creatures. Humans were made to be social, to reach out to other people and be able to communicate what's going on. But if we're just using it to whine and complain all day long during the workday, that's a habit and that's not helpful. So if you're using the venting at the end of the day, that's helpful to a trusted person. If you're noticing all throughout the day that you are making negative comments about work and stress and life, really try to change those habits. You could talk to a professional if you're having trouble with it, but really start to notice, maybe, just listen to yourself a little bit more, be more aware. So let me get back to that part where we talked about the end of the day and completing the stress cycle, because that's my next piece, is how do we complete the stress cycle? So stress cycle is what happens to humans when they feel a threat. They feel their nervous system activating, right? And at work, that can happen. We can feel so stressed that our nervous system activates, and we find ourselves having physical symptoms. We can find ourselves, really struggling to the point where we go home and we still don't have an appetite, or we can't sleep, or we're just reaching for the sugary foods to give us a boost of serotonin, that chemical in the brain that makes us feel a little better, or dopamine in the brain. So completing the stress cycle is where we recognize, today was tough. My body probably went into survival mode, or went into that activated mode of just trying to fight. I really wanted to flee, maybe. I wanted to quit my job, right? If we notice ourselves that stressed out, that we are activating that stress cycle, we need to complete the stress cycle. So not only do we start it, go into it, but we want to be able to finish it. In ancient times, caveman times, cavewoman times, we would have gone back to our tribe and we would have talked to them and said, oh, I got chased by a coyote and it was really bad, and the pack is following me, help me, right? And they would join in, maybe fight off whatever the actual threat was, or they'd bandage up the wounds from whatever the fight was before. They would help you, so you would have the venting and talking with your social network, and then you would have the physical piece of, oh, okay, it's over and I can now relax, right? Which a lot of times we don't give ourselves in modern day society. we get home from work and we go right from maybe work to pick up the kids from school, homework, dinner, stress at bedtime, and that's it. Or come home, we walk in the door and dinner's on the table and wife's screaming to sit down, kids are yelling because they're mad that they didn't want to have to help set the table. Or if we live alone, we come home and we ruminate on our work and we don't stop thinking about it. Whatever it might be, we tend to not complete the stress cycle. So if you actively find a way to complete it, to go, my day of work is over, there's nothing more I can do right now, I need to complete this, and find a way, whether it's to call and vent to a person that you trust, whether it's to go do a quick brisk walk to get some physical activity out, because remember, in cave person times, they would have been running back to their tribe, so they would have gotten that physical exertion as a way to complete the stress cycle. So going for a run, going to the gym, taking a brisk walk. We know nobody looks forward to those things. Well, some people do, most people don't. I don't. But we also know we've never regretted it when we've done it. We feel better afterwards, right? So go do something physical to complete the stress cycle can be really helpful. If you are walking into chaos at your home and you can't just do a brisk walk or something like that, you might sit in your car outside your office or pull over 2 blocks before you get to your home and do something to complete the stress cycle in your car, right? You might just take a moment and deep breaths all the way down to the belly to tell your body, I can now breathe normally. I am no longer in that threatening situation. My life is not in danger. I'm good, right? Taking that moment to breathe to the belly, not the stressed out, muscular, tense part up here in the chest, but to the belly, to physically tell it, I'm done, right? Do a couple laps around the car, whatever you gotta do. But tell your body, I am good. I can breathe deeply to the belly. I can relax. I am done with the stressful part of my day, and I'm gonna let that go until tomorrow morning. That can be so important. So I get to the last point that I was gonna make, which is mentally. Mentally, how do we help ourselves with our work stress, right? We need to take time for work, and we need to take time that's not for work, okay? And we need to be very intentional about it. At work, you can take some mini breaks. It might be when you go to the restroom, you just try to do some mindfulness. It might be, you go to the break room and actually eat lunch, right? Not at your desk, which is very hard for most people. You could, maybe you eat lunch at your desk really fast, but then you take a walk outside, what used to be the smoke break. Now that people don't smoke, they've actually lost something by not going outside and taking that 5-minute break. So you might go out and do a fresh air break. But taking that extra time, there's been so much research that shows if we go outside or even look out a window at nature and take those few extra minutes where we're relaxing, not thinking about work, so not using the time to ruminate or think about what can I do better, what can I do next when I get in there or make my to-do list, but actually just be present. Look at every color on the leaves, look at every branch, try to see how many bugs you can find outside, whatever it might be. But for those couple of minutes, just do that. Research has found that you're actually more effective, more productive right after you get back. So it's like supercharging yourself to be able to do more of your work when you get back. So instead of losing 5 minutes, you might be gaining an hour's worth of work because you're going to be charged up, you're going to be more productive. So there's great science behind that. And at home, mentally not being at work means sometimes you lock your phone away for an hour. Sometimes you purposely put it charging in the bedroom while you go watch TV in a living room so that you can't hear it. Put it on, mine does a silent, and you can tell it for how many hours you want it silent. Whatever you might be that you can do to get away from work, do it. But also remind yourself when you're sitting there trying to do something relaxing, maybe it's your hobby, maybe it's TV, that your brain also needs to let go of work. If you're finding it trying to think about work in the shower while you're watching your favorite show, just turn it back to what's present. Turn it back to what's right in front of you right now, right? Your long-term goal is to be able to stay at that job, to be able to continue to make money, or to be able to just have a happier life, right? Remind yourself your long-term goals and turn your mind away from work and give yourself that time off from work that's fully off. Not, I should be doing work. I should be getting caught up on that. I should have done this at work. I need to do that tomorrow. If your brain is doing that all day long, maybe write it out real quick just to get it out so your brain's not trying to memorize it and say it over and over again. But also make sure you tell it it's okay to just be here right now. Maybe even have an egg timer and say, 30 minutes, I'm gonna just be here. And I know I can think about work again when that thing dings, but I'm gonna be right here for these 30 minutes. Okay, so that is taking care of yourself emotionally, socially, physically, and mentally, right? So 4 little tips for your work stress. I also want to mention, because they're my partners and I just adore the Inside Out Spa, I don't get paid by them. I just really believe in what they're doing, so we promote each other. But they have what's called an infrared spa. You can go into these rooms and you can relax in these heated saunas. You get this fantastic feeling when you come out of the infrared light being on you, and also the heat. And there is a ton of research. I put it on my website, and you can also go on their website and take a look at it, that shows it can help with stress, depression, many different mental health issues. And it's also just a great time to be there for yourself. You go in and do a 20-minute session. You can pick what kind of stress relief or depression relief or pain relief that you want to do while you're in there, and the infrared lights will mimic that. And then you could just really just be present and enjoy it and take that time. And it's such a great spa. They are adding things all the time. I hear they're starting a salt room, so you can breathe in some salt, detoxify the lungs. Can just imagine how helpful that is. I love the deep breathing, so doing some of that in that room would be amazing. So if you haven't seen them, they're in Martinez, California. They are over on Ferry Street, and they are just amazing. So check them out. I will put that info here at the end and in my comment section. And you can also check me out. My website is drkinthebay.com, and you can reach out to me anytime if you have questions or if you have a topic that you'd like to hear me speak about. Thanks so much.